Welcome, folks. My name is Bala Chandran. I'm a Vice President of Software Development at Oracle Cloud, and I'm really excited here today to talk to you about how Oracle is approaching cloud security differently, have you hear from some of our customers who have experienced real great success with what we're doing, and introduce 4 new innovative things in cloud security that I think you will love. So let me jump right into it. Before I get into how we approach security, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about what I think is broken with cloud security today. And I think the fundamental challenge that all of you who are security practitioners will agree is that security is hard and complex in the cloud. You know, there's always a way in retrospect, a setting, a knob, a lever you could have tweaked to resolve your security issue. The challenge is finding those levers among 100 of them and trying to decipher that. The tools are way too complex. I think that's the fundamental challenge. And that's what we're here at Oracle to solve. We think there's a better way. We think there's a way to make cloud security simple for the user, but powerful in the back end. And it's not just my opinion. I'm sure all of you will agree, and Gartner agrees as well. Gartner did research, and they found, and they believe that 99% of all cloud breaches are going to be due to misconfigurations or mistakes. And so the real challenge for cloud providers like Oracle and all other cloud providers is how can we make this simple and prescriptive for the users building our applications. And the way we're approaching it at Oracle is that we have 4 core principles we want to use. So first, we want to make security simple. And what that means is a couple of things. It's always on posture. Security is not optional, something you turn on after the fact. It's always on. The defaults are set up such that if all you do is apply the defaults and build your applications, you will have a really good baseline. That's our #1 goal. And #2, we want to be prescriptive. We don't want to give you a 200-page PDF of the best practice in security and let you figure out, what combination of those to apply. We want to give you recipes. We want to give you guidelines, templates that are very prescriptive that allow you to apply those to your environment. Of course, you can tweak them. Each organization is going to be a little bit different, but we think there's a prescriptive mechanism you can build in. #3, we want to be integrated. Now, when you look at a cloud provider, you're not just using their computers to build compute. You're not just using object storage to build objects. You are storing data across multiple layers of the stack. You're storing data across the infrastructure layer of the stack. You're using databases and other platform components. You're using SaaS applications like Oracle's ERP and HCM applications. And if you have security that is different and siloed across these systems, you really have not secured your environment. So for example, if you have 3 separate cryptographic key management solutions or different identities across these systems, that's really becomes very complicated to use. So Oracle's really focusing on integrating our entire cloud stack, all the way from our Oracle Linux at the operating system level, all the way up to an application like Oracle ERP or Oracle HCM. It's the same security platform that we use. And lastly, security is built in. We don't want to force you, the customer, into a choice between, hey, should I be secure or should I pay a lot of money, a cost between cost and security. In most of our cases, security is built in when you get the core compute, core storage built. So Oracle Cloud Guard, all of our services are built in when you include Oracle Cloud. So all of those are built in, but I wanted to talk about a couple of key releases we had in the last year that I think really are changing the paradigm of how we look at cloud security in the market. So the challenge has always been, of course, like we talked about, there's 100 ways to do cloud security, only a couple of them being right. So how do you prescriptively enforce, as a customer, a set of best practices? And that's where Cloud Guard and maximum security zones come in. These are what we call cloud security posture management tools. And Oracle Cloud Guard is a service that's available in Oracle Cloud, again, included at no additional cost, and it continuously monitors your cloud environment. It has a recipe of over 50 to 60 detectors, and we're constantly adding to those. And it constantly monitors your environment for things like, hey, do you have a public bucket? Is your Oracle database the right version? Do you have any keys that are about to expire, etc.? A whole host of detectors. It's constantly monitoring them. We've got a powerful problem engine that turns all this monitoring into a set of actionable data for your analysts. One of the big problems in cloud security is the overload of information. So we want to have a clean, actionable set of data that we provide to you. And optionally, what some of our customers have found really powerful is we don't stop there. We don't just tell you what's the problem. We give you the tools to automatically remediate it, automatically quarantine a user who's coming in from a suspicious IP, or automatically turn a public bucket private. Now, a lot of customers may have workflows built in, so you may not want automatic remediation, but the whole detection, identification, remediation is made really powerful with CloudGuard. Now, we also have another product that's a sister product to this, which is called Maximum Security Zones. Now, CloudGuard obviously monitors your entire environment after the fact. Maximum Security Zones is a super secure location where you can always enforce things even before they happen. So if you, as a security professional for a customer, are really concerned that you have a very sensitive workload where you absolutely at no point do you want even a developer to allow to create a public bucket, Maximum Security Zones allow you to do that. You can create the super secure compartment, a set of recipes, a set of policies are enforced for you at runtime. So that if a user tries to create a bucket, tries to create an unencrypted set of data, for example, it will alert them and it will stop them from actually doing it. And both these have prescriptive recipes within them built in that allow customers to configure how they would like to set up CloudGuard, for example. So very prescriptive and again, simple. And integrated across the stack. So we've got Oracle CloudGuard integrates across a bunch of our infrastructure services. Like I mentioned, it integrates our platform services as well. We launched CloudGuard in Maximum Security Zones about a year ago. And what has been really heartening to me has been the customer adoption and analyst feedback we've received on these products. We've had large customers like Accenture, as well as startups like Disk Engine, really give us powerful feedback on how CloudGuard and Security Zones have been able to increase and harden their Oracle Cloud security posture. And also powerful statements from analysts like Maxine Holt over at Omdia. It's not that much value if I talk about it. What really drives the point home is how our customers are using this and how they get value from it. So at this point, I'd like you to listen for a couple of minutes to Scott Shepard, who's a senior director at Motorola, on how they're using CloudGuard and deriving value from it.
Motorola Solutions is a global leader in mission and business critical technologies for public safety and enterprise. Our solutions in land mobile radio mission critical communications, video security access control, and command center software, bolstered by managed and support services, create the most integrated technology ecosystem to make communities safer and help businesses stay productive and secure. Our 18,000 employees around the world are motivated by our shared purpose to help people be the best in the moments that matter. When you do cloud adoption and you're trying to move into the cloud, there's a lot of challenges around security and having the right level of visibility. For us, it's getting the right level of security, making sure that they hit the policies they need to hit, as well as the monitoring, and then responding when there's an event. OCI gave us the ability to pick out and fail over applications and databases at the application layer. And so we've revamped how we've done our entire disaster recovery planning, leveraging OCI's model in that environment. Oracle CASB did give us the monitoring capability, and then Oracle CloudGuard gave us that next capability, was actually to enforce or leverage those policies and then ensure that they're automatically applied and keep us straight regardless of where we are. So now we can feel ensured that we are complying with the policies that we've defined, not only from alerting, but actually to enforcement. There are a lot of benefits from using the CloudGuard. One of the biggest benefits in the environment is the ability to go from detecting to actually responding and then enforcing security policy. A great example of that is the buckets, where that bucket could be publicly available. And if you think about it, if you expose that data out there and you get an alert, that helps you in understanding what's going on, but it doesn't actually provide the protection. With Oracle CloudGuard, that protection is upfront and it blocks it and protects that data ahead of time. Financially, we got a 15% reduction in our actual spend in that space. So by the consolidation and the leverage of tools within the environment, it was also financially beneficial. But that portfolio is really comprehensive, and it's just going to drive us to more adoption and more usage of it. One of the things I love about it is that it's actually built into OCI, so it's not an add-on. I know that Oracle's going to continue to upgrade and maintain over time and continue to build the features together as OCI matures as well.
Well, thank you, Scott. That was really interesting. And I had a chance to spend some time with the Motorola environment, and what they're doing is on Oracle Cloud is really interesting in how they're using CloudGuard and all of our different security products there. Now, we're obviously not just stopping at CloudGuard. CloudGuard is just, and security zones are just the starting point. I wanted to talk, we're constantly adding new features. Our aim is to make Oracle Cloud the most secure enterprise cloud. And I want to talk to you about 4 really exciting cloud innovations. These are, I think, cutting edge in the industry and are really built on our simple, secure theme that we've been talking about. And as excited as I am about the launches of CloudGuard and security zones and the customer adoption we're seeing, we're not resting on our laurels. We're constantly adding new features to Oracle Cloud to make it the most secure enterprise cloud in the market. And today, I'm really excited to talk about 4 of these new services today. So we've got Web Application Firewall, OCI Certificates, Vulnerability Scanning, and OCI Bastions. And I'll go through briefly what they offer for you, but you'll see a much more detailed demo coming up in just a few minutes. First, I want to talk to you about our enhanced Web Application Firewall and load balancers. So Web Application Firewalls, as you all know, protect your malicious external traffic, and load balancers have typically been used for your internal applications. And traditionally, you've had to manage them in 2 places and have 2 policies, etc. With the integration of both these, OCI now offers you a secure way for both your external applications as well as your internal workloads, and a really simple enforcement policy for both these workloads. And again, keeping with our simplicity and built-in theme, there's no charge for your first WAF instance and up to the first 10 million requests a month. Next, I'm really excited to announce OCI Certificates, which is a brand new service from Oracle Cloud to automate the traditionally error-prone process of creating, deploying, and renewing private certificates. And what OCI Certificates is able to do for you is automate the process of creating those certificates, deploying them on load balancer, renewing them, and we can either create the certificates for you, or you can bring your own certificates, and all of those are backed by keys stored in a very secure hardware security module. Vulnerability scanning, another new OCI service I'm very excited about. Of course, a lot of our customers, in fact, probably all our customers, use our compute offering to actually run their applications. But you need to be able to identify the risks on those applications, on your virtual machines, on your bare metal hosts, or your containers, and determine if you've got any vulnerable code running on it. And that's where our vulnerability scanning service comes in. It's a no-cost offering that allows you to create periodic scans against your infrastructure, and using industry standard BIS benchmarks, OVAL data, vulnerability data, etc. We create for you a audited report of how all of this information and your infrastructure is exposed to vulnerabilities and what you need to fix. And again, this is all integrated back into CloudGuard, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And finally, I wanted to talk about OCI Bastions. Again, a new service that automates and simplifies the deployment and management of jump hosts. So jump hosts are traditionally these hosts that are used to allow secure operator access, and long-lived jump hosts are a security issue, and maintaining these has been a problem. Keeping with our simplicity theme, we're going to create a very secure Bastions environment that offers ephemeral services, on-demand access to cloud services, and you don't have to maintain these permanent IP addresses that are potential security issues. Now, each of these, again, is a very simple integrated mechanism for security, and each of these on its own offers some very powerful capabilities for our customers. But what I'm most excited about is how all of these tie together for a single pane of glass for our customers with CloudGuard and security zones. So again, all of these services are able to integrate with CloudGuard and security zones for a single pane of glass for our customers, and they can view the problems and act and remediate on these in one place. So really the power of all of these working together is what makes Oracle Cloud simple and powerful. But rather than talking about it, let me actually show you this in action.
Hi, this is Jeff Wierer, Vice President of Product Management Security Services, Oracle Cloud. Today I'm going to walk you through a demo of 4 new cloud services from OCI as I build out the infrastructure required to add a secure administrative control plane to our MooShop storefront. This is our example e-commerce architecture. First, we'll create a bastion in the back-end compartment of our store, and then create a session for secure access. Bastion servers represent hardened access points that protect resources and infrastructure from unauthorized access. We'll choose an existing VCN and then define a CIDR block that enables us to route traffic. Here I'm going to default to wide open, all zeros. If you were doing this for real, you would enter CIDRs that match your VPN or IP ranges on premises. After the Bastion server has been created, we'll create a Bastion session. Now, a single Bastion can support multiple sessions. We'll add a session name, a username, and choose the server we're going to connect to. We'll put in the default user, in this case, Oracle Linux VM user OPC. Next, we're going to upload our public key that I'm going to use to connect to the session. Once the session is ready, I can grab the SSH connection string. Now let's connect to our Bastion using a terminal. I'm pasting in the string that I just grabbed from the console. And we've connected to the remote Bastion server. Now we're able to access the backend of our store securely. To help improve the security of our backend compartment, we'll add vulnerability scanning. This will examine our compute instances to help identify any problems. We'll create a scan recipe with the default settings that allows agents, network scanning, and gathering of CIS benchmarks. We need to create a compute scanning target to scan the compartments and all of its virtual machines. Typically, you're going to see results within 15 minutes. Looking at the results, you're going to see a list of hosts scanned, and of course you can drill down to a specific host. Review the CVEs found on a host. Now we see the host scanning results, and we can examine the vulnerabilities that VSS, the Vulnerability Scanning Service, identified. We can look at the results of a specific host. The list of vulnerabilities identified for the host include a large number of issues where the risk is deemed high. Now we see the high-level information about this critical vulnerability exposure. For more details, we reference the National Vulnerability Database to view all the CVE details. Of course, we can use OS management to patch these vulnerabilities found by installing the latest updates. From CloudGuard, you can set up the VSS detectors to allow detecting CVEs or open ports and reporting these as problems. When CloudGuard reports problems, you can drill down to the problem to view details. You can also click on a link that provides more information from VSS. So far, we've established secure access to our backend store and enabled vulnerability scanning. Next, we need to add a certificate to our front end so that our customers can visit the store securely. We're going to add a private certificate authority, or CA, and this will automatically manage our front-end certificates and prevent them from ever expiring. Next, we're going to create a certificate that we can load on our front-end load balancer. Our certificate is going to be issued by our internal certificate authority, and we're going to name it LB certificate. We'll leave it as a TLS client or server certificate. You can specify the period of time that you'd like the certificate to remain valid and also choose your key algorithm. Now we have our certificate for installation on our load balancer. Next, we need to create a load balancer. We'll select a load balancer that's publicly accessible. We'll also choose our certificate VCN and our public subnet, and we'll click Next to continue. We'll use weighted round robin as our load balancing policy and add our backend. Here, our backend is running Ubuntu Linux with an Apache web server. Now we're going to configure the listener, set up for a TLS connection on port 443. For our SSL certificate, we're going to specify a certificate service managed certificate and use the LB certificate that we created previously. Next, we have error logs, and we'll accept the default configuration and hit submit. Now our load balancer is up and running using a certificate from our certificate service. Finally, we're going to create a Web Application Firewall, or WAF, policy that we can load and enforce on our load balancer. We need to specify some basic information and access rules for our WAF policy. We're going to add policy statements for access control and protection rules. For request control, we'll set a country region access rule that accepts traffic that originates from the United States, and it returns a 401 response code when the traffic comes from another region in the world. WAF also protects against DDoS attacks with a rate limiting feature. You can create rate limit rules based on URL path, request headers, source IP address, request method, and other parameters. For protection rules, we're going to specify protection from OWASP threats, which include cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and many others. We'll filter based on the tag and enable all the protection signatures. Add the request protection rule and click Next. As the final step, we'll review and apply policies created so they're enforced on our load balancer. Enabling WAF protection on our load balancer helps strengthen the security posture of our application by helping to protect it from common vulnerabilities such as the OWASP Top 10 and other Layer 7 attacks. In summary, we started by adding secure backend access with Bastion and used vulnerability scanning to check for security issues. For the front end of our application, we set up TLS using OCI Certificates and Web Application Firewall and Load Balancer. Although these new products help enhance the security for Oracle Cloud customers, integration with CloudGuard and security zones provides continuous enforcement of security policy and monitoring, thus simplifying management and reducing the chance of human error.
All right, I thought that was really interesting and powerful. And I hope you saw not only how they individually work, but also how they tie together for a simple prescriptive security message. These new services, we've been testing them and having our customers use them, and we've really received some really powerful feedback. A couple of quotes here from NRMA and ALEF. And again, you can see how they're using the combination of CloudGuard and security zones in NRMA and CloudGuard and certificates with ALEF to really harden their security posture in ways they could not easily do before. And we actually I'm privileged to also have Pietro Lascari from ALEF actually talk about how they're using the combination of CloudGuard and certificates in their applications today. So Pietro, over to you.
ALEF produces solutions to the financial problems of public and private firms, for instance, for banks and for insurance groups. Our role as ALEF is to create a value for our customers, help them on the compliance side. We use a large variety of OCI services. We also rely on very important services like CloudGuard. And so we find out that CloudGuard is easy to use but powerful to keep a security posture. Another thing that we are starting to use is the OCI Certificate service that has been recently introduced. So I think that having many automations directly handled through this OCI Certificate service will be great for us. And so a certificate will get renewed or will expire according to the rules that we set up through the OCI console. So it is really helpful in being compliant with the regulators, external and internal auditors, and it makes OCI easier to use. I think that Oracle's strategy in offering for free these services and so many services that are oriented on the security aspect is a good one. You have these tools that are simple but powerful and free. You don't have to activate these tools by buying or by configuring with a hard work extra services. They are taught in a manner that you don't have to deal with complex configurations, spend hours or days to start using them.
That was a really interesting use case from Pietro. I hope you were all excited by the customer testimonials and the demonstrations you saw of our new services today. If you'd like to try out any of them, please go to oracle.com/cloud/free for a free 30-day trial, and you can try out all these services. Again, I thank you for taking time out of your busy days to join us today. Thank you.